Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy XANDRE here. Before I let you move on any further in this video, I just want to drop by and let you know with a quick disclaimer that we're not professionals. Now, if you're seeking professional help in regards to the topic, the conversation that we're having, please visit the links in the description below. And if you want to be a part of this movement of healing nations through transparency, the way you can help me do that is just by helping me beat the algorithm. Hit the like and the subscribe button. This will definitely tell the algorithm that this is a dope piece of content, and we'll be able to broaden the reach of the community in hopes that, you know, the nations get healed. And if you want to see more of these type of conversations here on out, hit the bell notification to select all. This will definitely let you know immediately as soon as I upload another video. But I'm not going to hold you up anymore. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of the video. Peace out, y'all. So, who is Natalie Fikes? What is it that you currently do? And how did this all happen as of who you are today?
Well, I woke up every day feeling like an irrelevant nobody's nothing until I realized that I was just caught up in the cycle of sabotage and that I was just living out generational curses. And so I am now a motivational speaker, a coach, and the CEO of the Greater Purpose Society. And that's me.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit more about Greater Purpose Society? How did that start?
Well, in 2017, I met a woman while teaching a class at a homeless shelter. And she walked into my classroom with her head down. And I was like, all right, cool. All right, I know my assignment for today, right? And no matter what I said, she just would not lift her head up. And I'm pulling out all the tricks and, you know, your life, turn up, yeah. And she just would not raise her head. And I was like, So I said, well, what if that's just a bunch of fluff? What if it's just a bunch of hype? You know, everybody's saying, oh, you can live your best life. Oh, you can do that and everything. But it's like, what if you don't want to? What if you just done? What if you're over it? What if you're tired of hurting? What if you're tired? Every time I said tired, it was like her head would just come up and up and up. And then she finally said, I just don't understand. I don't understand. I've done everything that I was told I was supposed to do. I'm a good person and I just don't understand. She said, I lost my hair. I lost my teeth. I lost my breath. I lost my breast. She had stage 3 at the time, metastatic breast cancer. And she was given 6 months to live.
Wow.
And I said, but you didn't lose your voice. And she just looked at me and I said, what do you want? And her eyes had just like a flicker of light. I said, now you can go with the diagnosis, but I see a little bit of life left in you. If you want it, you can have it. Yeah. And she looked at me like, huh? Because she was tired of telling her that God can heal you. And she was tired of people telling her that it's all right. You know, it's all right. She's like, no, it's not all right. I said, listen, I'm not here to sell you anything. I just want to know what you want. She said, I want to live my purpose. I don't know what that is. I don't want to die like this. I said, then don't. Don't. Mm-hmm. And I ended up taking her into my home and nursing her back to life. She was on chemo and radiation, and it was burning a hole in her head, and she was just tired. And she's like, I don't want to do this. I said, then don't. And so she stopped radiation, she stopped chemo, and lived a year and a half past her death date.
Wow.
And so that's when the Greater Purpose was born, because I realized the power of that question. I realized ultimately that's what Jesus was asking everyone, the blind, the crippled, what would you have me to do? Yep. You know, what do you want? And it has actually changed my life as well. And so that's what the Greater Purpose Society is all about, teaching you how to do what you want, with who you want, the way you want, in benefit of yourself and others.
That's beautiful, man. Wow. So, okay, we've highlighted part of the purpose, right? Because there's so much more to you. And I know, so, all right, I'm going to say this lightly. I know there's not a lot of good people in the world. And before people, sometimes people start off as bad, but something happens to them in life before they become good. So, not saying that you started off this way, obviously, but but let's revisit for a second. Like, let's revisit the past. What happened to you to lead you with this heart posture towards people, like to have such a loving heart, to want to open your home and care for somebody and nurture them, speak life into them literally, and like, how did this happen? Like, walk us through your story.
Well, like I said, I woke up every day just feeling irrelevant. I felt like my presence was an inconvenience. I grew up in a Jamaican family. I was a habitual new kid. I was an only child. And so it just seems like there was never a place for me. It was at a time when a child was to be seen, but not heard. I had a lot of questions. I was very curious. I didn't understand how 1 minute everybody's chilling and the next minute a fight breaks out. I don't understand why I'm going to school like any other day and then I'm packed up and I'm moving. I didn't understand why people were mean. I just didn't understand. And my questions were like burdens. It's sit down, be quiet, shut your mouth, you chat too much, you always have something to say. It was just like, what is this? I didn't think I was pretty. I didn't think I was ugly. I didn't think I was smart. I didn't think I was dumb. I just didn't understand anything, and there were no answers. And so at the age of 11, after being a latchkey kid for so long, I finally had a summer vacation. When you're a latchkey kid, your summers run into your winters and your springs. But when the kids would say, I went away and I did this and that, I actually finally got that. And so whenever I was sent somewhere, I would ultimately end up with my cousins. So it was my two girl cousins where I was like the middle child, because I'm 3 months older than my younger cousin. And so we were catching fireflies at night and buying garbage pail cards and just eating candy and playing Super Nintendo all day. Don't judge me. I was born when I was born. Okay. I had bangs then. And so we had us a good old time. And so my cousin had went down in the basement and found this jar. It's like a water jug that I don't know if y'all know, but you could put quarters and pennies and stuff and you build it up. And by the time you cash it in, it's a couple $100, right?
Yep.
But there was 20s and 10s and 5s and 1s and all that stuff. And if your hand's small enough, you can put your hand down and pick it up, And so, at 11, it was like, yeah. So we went to the corner store, got candy and garbage pail. It was just the best summer ever, right? No harm, no foul. Well, it was time to go, back to reality. And so when we came downstairs, it was like a going away party. Everybody was standing around and it was like, oh my God, this is like on television. This is so cool. And they asked us to open up our suitcase. And they went through our suitcases and my cousin, the younger one, had the Nintendo. She had my little lucky sock that had my money that was left over. And then they started beating us. My family, they started beating us. And they beat us and beat us and then locked us in the bathroom in the basement. Wow. They said that $13,000 was missing. And my little 11-year-old mind didn't even know what $13,000 was. I was like, I will gladly give you back the few now and laters that I have, and you can have the garbage pail cards. I don't know what's happening. And so the next morning, after we slept on a cold floor with no answers, they dragged us outside and they tied my younger cousin to a tree and began to pour gasoline on her. And everybody stood around and I'm like, what is this? And it was almost like it was normal. But inside of me, I heard a voice saying, do something, do something, do something. And I would look around and it just seemed normal. And I heard a voice say, stay in the child's place. But then I heard a voice say, do something, do something, do something. But then a man came walking with a cigarette in his hand. And he walked past my cousin and he lit the cigarette. And he began to pace back and forth. Mwa, my money. Mwa, my money. And I'm looking around like, it's just normal to everyone. But inside of me, I heard a voice say, do something, do something, do something. Then I heard another voice say, a child is to be seen, but not heard. And he kept going back and forth. Me want my money, your teeth, my money. Heard that voice get louder, do something, do something. Then I heard that voice say, stay out of grown folks' business. And so I sat there and I watched my cousin with this man who could have flicked a cigarette at any time. But he didn't. He didn't flick the cigarette. But I was left with the burden of do something. And that voice left me for so long. I felt like I had betrayed myself. I felt the burden of rescue. And I would continue through my life to now become, I call that the bystander. And then I'm in middle school and I get jumped on the streets of New York by people who I thought were my friends. And they jumped me and tore my skirt off. And I looked over at the bodega where people were gathered and they just watched. And as I'm taking the licks and trying to return as many as I can, I wondered if there was anyone that was hearing that voice, do something. And I said, but why would they respond to me when I didn't? This is just reaping and sowing. And so as I walked 12 New York City blocks with my coat wrapped around my waist because my skirt had been ripped off, there was no voice inside of me. I heard nothing. And then I would continue to go on through being the new kid, and the boys like me, so the girls don't, and just no place for me, just a bunch of questions and no answers. I got to a place where I said, you know what, I just want to be normal. I just want to fit in. And so I started being everything that I possibly could be except for myself. It was, if I'm at this school, then the person at the last school was cool. So guess what? I'm going to be that person. If they're ghetto and loud, I'm going to be ghetto and loud. And then they would reject me. Then I would go to another school and I would say the cool person at that school was quiet and meek. So I'd be quiet and meek. And then when I ran out of characters, one day I finally settled down in the 10th and a half grade. And I forgot to be somebody else. I showed up as myself. And guess what? They still rejected me. But it felt different. It felt different because I was me. And I said I've tried to be everything and I got rejected every time. But this time I was me. And so I set out on this journey to find out who being me really was. And as my voice started coming back, I felt more and more rejection, because it was like people didn't want the truth. They didn't want light. They didn't want love. It was, they would come and be nurtured by me, and then they would go back into the same mess. And so one day at 23 years old, I picked a fight with God. I was going through a stage of promiscuity, and I was going through a place of just internal rebellion. It was back to not being who I truly was. And I was mid-stroke with the guy who had no title and no business being in my life. And I was like, what is this? What am I doing? I had partied and partied. I loved to dance and have a good time. And I didn't even want to do that anymore. And so I said, what do you want? What do you want? I know it's you. I know it's you, but how dare you talk to me? Where have you been? I have been good to people. I have given, I've done everything. Yeah, I'm not perfect, but how dare you talk to me? How dare you shut me off from the things that are keeping me sane? How dare you? Oh, you want me to be like those hypocrites? You want me to be like my mom and them? You want me to be like the people around me? I keep it 100. I keep it 100. You want fake people. That's what you want, because you fake. I said, nah, I'm done being nice. I'm done caring. I'm done feeling. I'm done. And I didn't hear anything. And so, you know, when you fight with somebody and they don't fight back because you're trying to invoke some type of reaction, it's like, kill me, do something. Take me out of here. Something, I don't know, just something other than this. And I didn't hear anything. And I said, okay, all right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wreak havoc on the world. That's what I'm going to do. You didn't like me when I was nice. They don't like me being nice. That's not what they want. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to just take you down with me. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you down with me. What I'm going to do is just not care. But I'm going to give you 30 days. I'm going to give you 30 days, and I'm going to learn everything I can about you so that I could take you down with me. And I didn't hear anything. And I told God, if he crossed me, ain't met the devil yet. He hasn't met the devil yet. Can y'all hear me? Okay. And so I woke up the next day and I actually felt peace. And it was the first time in my life that I had ever felt peace. It was the first time in my life that I had ever told the truth and wasn't beaten for it, sent away. It was the first time I felt whole. I couldn't quite put the word on it yet, but it was something. And as I began to fulfill what I promised God, I started reading the Bible, and I realized that it was some good stuff in here. I realized that he never promised that there wasn't going to be problems. He just promised that I would never be alone. He never promised that there wasn't going to be trouble. And actually, he actually said that you probably get more trouble, but I got you. It was something about being God that opened up my heart. It was something about him saying that his word would not return to him void. And all I ever wanted was for somebody to keep their word. And so instead of wreaking havoc I asked him for a new heart because the one that I had was not functioning. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't want to love. I didn't like people. I didn't want to care. I didn't want to feel. And I asked him for a new heart. And I literally felt like he cut my chest open and took out my heart. And in a dream, I saw my heart and it had glass and it had knives and it was black and it looked like it was just about to stop. And a few days after that, I started to just be, it's like I was assigned. I would go places and I would just smile at people and I would say, how are you? And they'd be like, oh, I'm fine, you know, the cashier or whoever. And I'm like, no, you're not. And they would look at me and I would say, you're not. And tears would, I mean, it was just like something came over me and I would just be able to see into people. And one day I was in New York and I was going through the turnstile and there was a guy in front of me. I'm just behind him and he swiped his card and it stopped because it was nothing on his card or something wasn't working. And so he swiped it again and then it stopped. And then he's, and he swipes again and nothing. And so by the time he goes to swipe it again, I swipe my card and he goes through. And as he's walking and I'm going through the turnstile, I see him look back at me and his eyes were black. And then he blinked and it was like they were back to normal. And for some reason, that man stayed with me and it was like, just what kindness can do to people. I knew when I was the new kid and it was like my presence was a burden and nobody wanted to let me in. All I needed was some kindness. All I needed was someone was to say, you could sit over here. I thought about this guy and how maybe kindness had done something for him. And so I just set out on this journey to just be good at being kind with the new heart that I had been given.
Wow. I gotta let
And
that
my
one.
name is not Jaden Smith. My name is Natalie Fikes.
Yes. Man, I gotta let that one breathe, man. That was heavy. Wow. Hmm. Okay. Help me, Holy Spirit, because man. All right. Wow. All right. So out of all of that you've experienced, and now I'm able to see inside of your heart as of today, like the new heart that God has given you. And it makes sense. It makes sense of why there's a GPS system, the Greater Purpose Society. Um, it makes sense why you opened your home to a woman fighting cancer, and by just unlocking her mind to see life differently in that moment that she wanted to give up, you've extended it for another year. Um, so, wow, man, that's amazing. That I don't know if that's the proper word for it. There's not enough words to describe all of that, but man, that's incredible. So my question to you, if you could just go back in time, right, to that moment when you were seeing your cousin almost. So they didn't burn your cousin up, right?
No, no.
Okay, thank you. Oh, hallelujah. All right. So in that moment that you in that moment when there was about to almost burn him alive, and that moment when you were on the street and when you're just trying to be somebody you were not, if you go back into those time frames and speak to that Natalie, what would you say to her now?
That there's purpose in your pain, that you went through that so that you could be the testimony and the vessel today. What I realized is that I was on assignment, that I went through to get other people through.
Mm,
I had to go through that. I had to feel what it felt like to watch people suffer and not do anything about that. because so many people are in families, are in neighborhoods, are in at jobs, churches, everywhere. And you're watching people suffer around you, and you carry the burden of rescue. That burden where you're seeing somebody who is struggling, and you are like, I gotta help, I gotta help. I gotta do this for them. I gotta take care of them. And then going and being on the receiving end where you actually need to be rescued yourself. And then finally getting to the place where you realize, no, we are all here to just be open vessels to show people the way out themselves, because the saving and the rescuing already happened when Jesus died on the cross. What we have to do is we have to understand who we are. I was an 11-year-old child. What was happening was not my burden to bear. I was an 11-year-old child, and it was the responsibility of adults to keep the children safe. It was the responsibility of the adults to do something at that time. I realized that, and that's why I don't play around kids. I don't play about them, right? I needed to know that as a mom, I could not teach my kids that their burdens are my responsibility. I had to teach them that as an adult, I don't have all the answers. I had to teach them that there's a voice inside of you that you're going to hear. And I don't care what's going on around you. I don't care what the adults are doing. You need to tap into that voice and lean into that voice. And whatever happens, let it happen. Don't betray yourself. I had to understand that people who do not stand up for themselves will never have the courage to stand up for someone else. I had to teach that, but I had to become it myself. I had to understand what it felt to be a victim and how to be a bystander, but how to actually stand into my kingdomness, authority, leadership. No matter how much it cost me, I had to learn those things. And if I hadn't have gone through that, the rejection and understanding that I wasn't meant to fit in, I was meant to stand out, that all of that rejection was actually for me. It was for me so that I could find my identity, so that I could have time with myself to get inside of myself and get all of that stuff out of there. I was in so much pain that I had to pick apart my pain and say, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And if you don't have a purpose, you have to go. If you don't have a purpose, you have to go because you're slowing me down. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized that there was so much in the Word of God that had to do with family. And we talk about breaking generational curses and stuff like that, but we don't understand how much we feed it by wanting to be in with the very people that are breaking us, breaking our hearts, hurting us. I had to realize that I had to separate myself in order to become who I truly was. Everything that happened to me is a gift. It gave me the opportunity to be relatable to people.
Yep. Wow, man. Whew, man, Natalie. Man, okay. I have so many questions, but for the sake of time, I just want to try to wrap it up at least. So okay, how do you determine that voice? Because you was talking about that voice when you were younger, when your cousin was almost getting burnt, and you was hearing the voice that was saying stay in the chosen place, and then you was also hearing another voice saying something to do something about it. Did you have a relationship with God at that time?
No, when I was a little girl, I used to see what I called an angel riding on my side of the car. I used to see, I'd be like, the angel, the angel. But I was in church all the time. And but I wasn't actively seeking or doing or talking to him or anything like that. But I did always have an angel on my side of the car until my father, the last time I saw him was about 9. And it was like, I stopped seeing anything at that point. And then 2 years later, that situation. But what I've identified is that you have an inner winner that do something, and then you have an inner critic. That's the programming that was given to us, the voices that don't belong to you, right? That come to kill, steal, and destroy. But there's an inner winner and there's an inner critic. And what I did was I snuffed out my inner winner that was trying to build itself and develop itself at that time.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. So how do we? So now that you say for somebody who overcomes these type of inner critics in the inner winner, right? And they're able to identify them and just move forward with life, and they're in a good place. How do you sustain that? How do you keep it from this day forward, and not become? Because it's easy to fall back. You know what I'm saying? Like we just keep it real. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up where God has placed you. Um, so how do you sustain where you are right now?
You have to know what you want. You have to know what you want in 5 key areas: emotionally, relationally, spiritually, financially, and physically. You have to get really clear about what you want in those 5 areas and only make decisions that are going to get you those things. Only align yourself with people that are going to get you those things. Because the moment the enemy has a door, a crack, some way to get in, you are going to go through it. And it's because of our desire to be connected to others and to be a part of things and not wanting to be alone and those type of things. That's what is always comes through a person. If you think about Adam and Eve, Adam was kicking it and cool and chilling with God. But as soon as Eve came around, there was a situation, right? It's you gotta be so focused on, like when Jesus said, they were like, "Hey, yo, Jesus, your family outside." And he was like, "Who is my family except those who are doing the will of God?" You got to know who you're walking with, at what time you're walking with them. And you got to understand when Saul, who was always calling for David, turns into the Saul that's trying to kill David. You got to know, you got to always pay attention to what's going on, because you're not dealing with flesh and blood. You're dealing with principalities and powers, and he will use a pigeon to pimp smack you, to distract you, to do whatever. You know what I'm saying? How does he kill, steal, and destroy? It's through distractions. So how do you maintain? You maintain being clear in those 5 key areas, and you eliminate those distractions.
That's good. That's good. Okay. So I want to open up a Q&A. Anybody here have any questions? I know Vanity just came in. What's up, Vanity?
Hey, Vanity.
Theo, do you have any questions?
Theo been oohing and eyeing.
All right, he
Oh.
been getting his life changed right now.
Yeah, I got a question. Hold on.
Okay. So while Theo's getting his question ready, I have a question. How do we know the difference between a want and a need?
All right. So a want is, like I was saying, get clear about what you want emotionally, relationally, financially, spiritually, and physically. Once you have that, that is like your destination. If you think about a GPS, the first thing it asks you is your destination. And so whatever, say, what I want relationally are only people who are willing and reasonable. I want people who keep and maintain their word consistently, right? And so here you and I are, right? And we're in a situation, and it's like, in this moment, I'm trying to communicate with you, and you're not giving me what I need. Okay. Needs are for the moment. So I can't allow what I need in the moment to stop me from getting what I want, because there's a destination that I'm trying to reach. So want is long-term, need is in the moment.
That's good. Okay. So Theo would drop this question. He says, how did you stay strong in your faith? Like, I know you have friends that probably didn't have faith.
I stay strong in my faith by what I call shower confessionals, right? It's really me cussing God out every day because I can't do people sometimes. I really can't. But because I wear his jersey, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I be like, yo, him, you got to handle that. You got to handle that because we're not going to score today. We're not going to win. Get your raggedy child up out before I get him. I'll be like, this is not what I come from. Man, I feel dead, No, that's really me. And I'm like, yo, I'm trying. This one a little heavy. This one right here, this came straight from Satan's, upper, that's one of his squad. And I'm telling you right now, he need Nikki 97. This is what,
I cannot right now.
Let me help you out real quick. And after I get it all out, wash it. It's something about the water being naked and it just going down the drain that I'm like, all right, what will you have for me to do today? What will you have for me to do today? And so what I realized is that I had to develop my strength in the areas of the process of what we go through about staying strong, is that the first thing you do is you get tired. When you start saying, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that, that's really just the first stage. Then what happens is after you go through the tired stage, you be like, man, I'm done, right? But that's only the middle. That's the hardest part. It's when you're finished. And I realized that a lot of times I left things and people, or I shut down, or I'm beefing because I was tired. Or I left and shut down and did things because I was done. But I realized that God gets the glory in the finish. Because imagine Jesus being on the cross. They tore him up. He got the beat down of the lifetime. And he got to the point where he was like, why have you forsaken me? Why have you forsaken me? That's when your strength really kicks in. But it wasn't until he said, it is finished. So I make sure to finish the finish line. And when finished is finished. It's like when you ain't got no grace for something, we call it done, but it's finished. Was your assignment completed? Did you do what he told you to do? That's how it is with me.
Okay, that's really good. I know Gwen and Angela just came in not too long ago. Hey guys, we actually are just wrapping up. I don't know if you guys have any questions. If you do, now would be the greatest time to do it, to ask your questions. But we actually are going to recap. I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram. I'm actually going to recap there, and we can continue the conversation from there. If you guys have no questions, so I'll give it a minute.
And it could be about anything. Listen.
Yeah, Natalie's a whole beast out here. So if you got some type of problems right now, man, I'm telling you, you're going to be transformed. So this is your moment.
And you have to be like, I've seen the worst of people. So when I tell you that God is real, I'm telling you that God is real. I've seen the absolute worst of people and I was done. And I started to realize that it has nothing to do with how other people show up. It's about me getting clear about who I am, being clear about my capacity, because I be beefing with God sometimes. I'm like, ain't none of your other children out here doing nothing? Where we at? Where's the squad? Where's the Jesus jersey people at? Because it seemed like they the ones that need the most help. You know, who's praying for me? What's going on? You know, and I'm like, I'm tired. You know, when I had Miss Wilma with stage 3 breast cancer, I had a guy sleeping on my couch. I had 2 other people sleeping in my master bedroom. I had another person. My whole house was like a inn. And I'm trying to build a business. I'm trying to get clear about this. I had just moved to Atlanta on faith. I'm like, God, what is this? But I had to understand that I had a capacity and I was doing it out of my voids. I was trying to fill voids and rescue people and do stuff. So you got to get clear about yourself and your capacity so you know what God calls you to, because sometimes it's your own self-inflicted stuff.
Man. Okay. So how do we identify our voids? Like, how do we identify that thing that we're trying to? Because sometimes we just be so in the moment that we're not able to tell, like, am I using the situation to fix my own personal gain? So how does that look like? How do you come to terms with that?
Get clear about what you want. Personally, professionally, relationally, financially, and spiritually. You should only be making decisions based upon what you want and nothing else. I'm telling you, it's that simple that we mess it up. That's why we mess it up. Is why are you connecting with this person? Well, if you really had to answer that question in the beginning, you really would not connect with that person because you truly don't have an answer. It's clear that if something doesn't have a place, it will create clutter in your life. That clutter is because you were trying to fill a void or something you needed in the moment versus what you wanted overall.
Okay. Yep, that's real good. All right. This is last chance. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. All right. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for
Somebody had a question.
Oh, wait. After God tells you something, how do you deal with doubt when doubt creeps in?
For me, because I am a verbal processor, and I say cussing God out, I'm not talking about profanity. I'm talking about verbally just getting all of that stuff you're carrying inside out from a real raw place. I mean, he knows what's going on anyway. And so you have to say to him, I'm scared, man. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I believe, help thou my unbelief. You know, like you got to say it and then pay attention. Say it and pay attention, because that's you tagging him in for him to say, okay, let me show you something. But if you're too distracted, you'll miss it. Just pour it out. Just say, keep it real. Keep it real. I don't know what I'm doing. You're worth it.
That's real. Because I came across a quote recently, and it was just saying like God is not afraid of like your transparency. Like even if you was to cuss, like he ain't afraid of you. Like you know what I'm saying. So just you better off just like getting it out than trying to hold it in, thinking that he already knows what you're feeling. He already know you cursing in the spirit. So just let it out. And that's the thing about people, like they don't want to deal with their feelings, and that's when the healing actually starts to happen. For me, I had to deal with my feelings before I can ever be unlocked. And the saying that always says like when the student is ready, the mentor will show. And I was ready. God knew my heart, and that's when I met Natalie. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like you guys got to really be transparent with God about what you want, and not focus on your needs.
Yep, and he teaches you how to be in relationship. If you can master being in relationship with a God that you can't see, and you'll be able to master it with people in real life, because we have expectations from God or about God. We go off of what we were told and all of that type of stuff. And he's like, you got to get to know me. And we're gonna have to do this step by step, and then if we all good for a minute, and then something happens in life, and you want to stop talking to me? Like, what's that about? He's like, I'm gonna be here. I'm not gonna leave you. I'm gonna be right here. And if you want to take it to where your capacity, you got to blow up or be anxiety, depression, all this other stuff, he's like, I'm right here. Where were you when they were raping me or beating me or all this other? I was right there. But you didn't know that you could call out on me, call out to me, or you didn't. You didn't know, but I'm telling you, I'm right there. Try me. Try me. I want to show you. I want to show you. But you got to break through all of this stuff. I'm not like, man, I don't do what they do. It's a beautiful relationship to have. Beautiful. And remember that he created you with a purpose. He created you with the end already finished. Your destination is already completed. It's already done. There is provision for the vision. It's already done. It is already finished. So he's saying, when you feel like your GPS is off, when you feel like you're off, just tap back into the source. That's it. Tap back into the source, and I'll reroute you. I'll reroute you because his reputation is connected to your success. He wants you to win and give him the glory for it. That's it.